Thank you all. Wonderful to be here, and I'm actually nervous seeing so many people. I failed my 12th standard, and that's why I'm sitting here today, alive in front of it. Most people wouldn't understand that thought. But how many of you in this room truly have failed at something, big or small? Raise your hand, please. That's lovely. My God. Look around you. So many different people, different lives, different failures. We all hear that voice inside us, silently, telling you, you're not good enough. You can't do it. I've heard that voice for decades, 1,000 times. Is it that you're not good enough? Is it the end? Or is it just the beginning? Failure is not the end of your story. What if failure was just the beginning of something brand in your life? I learned something that no textbook can teach you. That failure and pain don't come with instruction. Grief has no text. I lost my brother when I was only 13. We were in a boarding school. He was abused. He fell ill and he developed multiple sclerosis, panencephalitis. He suffered and he died. I looked after him in those years. There's something that death changes inside. You're never the same again. And I hated the world. I hated everybody around me. And it sent me into a spiral of darkness. I then joined college. And I got into bad habits. Bad friends, bad company. I was a mess. Alcohol, addictions. At 17, I failed my 12th standard. I got my results. I failed in English and maths. My family was shattered. My dad, almost had a breakdown. We were to leave 3 days later for a holiday in Canada, the entire family. Because I failed, my father wanted to cancel the trip for all of us. And I told him, no, Dad, let me fix this. You go on and I'll send my papers for revaluation. In the 80s, it was a big thing. If you failed, society criticized you. I felt useless. I felt worthless because I had really let my entire family and society down. I didn't know where to go. That's when I realized that life changes in every tragedy. My family left on the 12th of June 1985 and they went to Canada on a holiday. I stayed behind and did my revaluation. What happened then was quite significant. 11 days later, Air India 182 Kanishka never arrived from Canada to London, bombed out of the skies by a terrorist organization. The aircraft crushed in the seas of the Atlantic Ocean outside Ireland. I was lost. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And in that moment, I was no longer a failure. I had now become a 17-year-old failure and an orphan. I had two choices before me. Stay broken and play the victim, or decide to pick up my life and fight back. And so I flew to Ireland, signed whatever we could. We didn't know if we'd find the way. I landed in Ireland and we went straight to the hospital. And I'd wait every morning, along with other families, in silence and trepidation. As the ships came in, the Navy brought bodies from the cold Atlantic. We would dread and break down at every minute. And I did this for 24 days, every day. Finally, they called off my said, have you ever felt fear and horror at the same time? The fear that it could have been there and the horror that it may not be relative. The pain of losing loved ones is so great. And in that moment, my life flashed before me. I imagined the last kiss, the last hug, the last goodbyes? Did I tell them I loved them? I wanted to hug them 5 minutes here, and I did. My family left home on that day, on that Sunday, thinking I was a failure. And all my life, I have since then tried to correct that position. After 24 days, I gave up and left for London. I was called back that night. Miraculously, after the Navy had given up its search for bodies, my stepmom's body came up and was discovered. I flew back, retrieved her, and then suit Bombay back to Sunday. What happened next? It changed my life forever. I was broken. I was caught. I was alone. No guidance, no support, nothing. A 17-year-old oaf. And then I had a choice on what to do next. And I was still lost, of course, because any of us would be at that age. The people I trusted the most, family, extended family, tried to rob me. My home, the last legacy of my father and my family, my property, and literally threw me out on Juhu Beach. And in that instant, I had two choices. Like I said before, stay broken and play the victim, or fight back. And I decided I would fight. And so I fought in the courts, and I fought in the media, and I fought throughout. And that was a transformation in my life. I also realized I was a failure at the 12, and I fought to educate myself to ensure that no one would ever call me a failure at this. And I went forward and I won. And in that fight, I realized something. I had found a purpose. And that purpose was justice. I began to fight for justice for my family and the 331 others. Kanishka was the world's worst aviation tragedy until 9/11. And I fought for justice in the courts. And I fought every day of my life since then until today. I stopped asking, why did this happen? And I moved from victim to survivor in that instant. The one question that had changed my life was not why did this happen to me, but what do I do next? And that's the question we all need to answer to our own conscience. At 17, I had lost everything. At 18, I had a choice to make, to fight back. And then I moved from courtrooms to the skies of Air India, flying leaders of nations and eventually becoming a leader myself. When you've already faced the worst in life, pain loses control over you. And that was what I learned. Failure can only happen once. And after that, you can only succeed and get better. I moved from victim to survivor, from courtrooms to the skies. Your story is not written by what happens to you. Your story is written by what you choose to do this. Remember that. We think failure ends us. You've heard everybody saying success is the opposite of failure. It's not. It's not. Failure is the catalyst of transformation. And that's something we would do well to remember. Because your story depends on you. Your story does not depend on what happens today. Your story depends on every choice you make from here on. I want you to remember this. And if there's nothing else you remember about today, just remember this. You are not failing. You are in training. What saved my future was what I decided to do next. Every success, every failure is followed by a success. Every success brings about new obstacles. The louder my voice became in the international community, the more enemies I had. People tried to bring me down and damage me. And I fought that for years, 40 years of fighting, and I'm still fighting today. But you have to remember one thing, and this is for all you young people out there. Your biggest failure can become your greatest launchpad. And that's what I want you to remember. At 53, I was selected amongst thousands around the world to join Harvard X at Pansmore. And I thought back 35 years earlier when I faced failure in English, and I laughed. Obviously, I'd learned English in 35 years to pass the exam. And I graduated at 55. I'm still in the process of learning. I will always keep learning because I still remember that 17-year-old who failed. And those are the lessons of my life. Failure is not the end of your story. It's just the beginning again, I say. And I ask for all of you, now, today, what are your failures? A heartbreak? A loss? Some failure in your exam? These are small things, they will pass. Everything passes with time. What will not is what you choose to do next. Remember, every one of us has that reservoir of knowledge. I want you to reach into your soul and tap it and ensure that every time you fall down, you jump up and you succeed again. I am reminded of Nelson Mandela. It doesn't matter how many times you fell down. What matters is how many times you get back up again. Thank you.